Hello there my RPG lovers and welcome to another video. We have some juicy new gameplay for Greedfall along with some really interesting new info about the game in general, and I wish to try and break down all of that in this video. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe for more RPG stuff because that's what I'm all about. CEO of Spiders had the opportunity to talk about Greedfall at E3 with a couple of guys from IGN, and there are some new and interesting stuff about the game that we didn't see so far. Since we got a release date for the game a couple of days ago, I'm guessing that Spiders will give us more and more info about the game as we get closer to that release date. Greedfall will be available in September of this year for PC, PS4 and Xbox One. At the beginning of this video we could see the monster that I actually already shown you in my older video about Greedfall. It looks like this player wanted to show us more than one option to approach this fight, so he mixed firearms, traps and some melee gameplay. The CEO mentioned that this part is the end of the prologue, so it's not a major spoiler for the story if you're worried about that, and they talked about some stuff that we already know, like the colonization of Tearfrayed Island, a little bit about the culture of the natives and the different people that we can expect to meet here. Not only the natives, but there will be a lot of people from the old world with different ambitions and ideas, and you as a player will have a lot of freedom to interact with all of them. We also got a confirmation that Greedfall is not an open world RPG, but there are a couple of big areas on the island that will get more accessible while we progress through the game. The CEO of Spiders also mentioned dungeons and different places of interest that we'll be able to explore on these maps, so even though it's not an open world, it doesn't mean that the world of Greedfall is linear. As we can see from some of these examples, the areas looked really wide and open, so I wouldn't worry too much about this. At one point the player opened a map of the game and we could see the whole island of Tearfrayed. It kinda reminded me of Gothic 2 Corina's map in a way. We could also see some fast travel here and how time will jump forward while fast traveling, which makes sense. Since Greedfall has put a strong emphasis on the narrative and player choice, it's really important how you will choose to interact with all of these factions on the island. You can end up wiping the whole factions from the island, and Yen used this opportunity to point this out as well. There is no illusion of choice, even if it seems minor, later in the game you will feel the impact of that decision. But the most interesting part of this video for me was definitely the part where we could see how can we upgrade our items at the workbench, and also what items we can buy from one merchant. The rarity of items in Greedfall will be color coded, white is common, green is rare I guess, blue is rarer and purple is epic. Of course, there are different stats on those items and most of them are the usual stats that you see in RPGs. We could see a lot of different quality armors and all armor slots in the game. We have hats, gloves, chest armors, boots, necklace and capes. We could see some firearms and variety of different melee weapons. Itemization of this game really makes me happy now, and I think that every RPG should have similar choices for the gear. It's one of the reasons why I love RPGs so much. And like I said, we could see how the player can use the workbench in the camp to upgrade his gear. From the short example we could get a good idea how this system will work. There are different ways of upgrading your weapons. For example, you can put different grips on your sword, which will give you different stats. And all of the upgrades come in different quality as well, same as all the gear. When the player started to upgrade his chest piece, he could put different shoulders on it, which is also really cool, and we can probably expect something similar when upgrading different parts of our armor. We also got an exact number of companions in the game. There are a total of 5 companions that we can meet and recruit, but we can only have 2 in our group. They all have different stories and ambitions, your decisions will affect them, and Yen told us that they can even die if you fuck up. And that's it, I guess. I kinda feel sorry for Yen a bit, because these 2 fuckers could ask much better questions.
One last question. Are there sort of status effects like poison or madness? Because obviously there wasn't, 4K video footage of that era back then. It was documented through painting, so...
But I know they try to cover a bunch of games at once, so I'll cut them some slack. This time, motherfuckers. Anyway, I will cover this game in depth, so be sure to subscribe. Consider becoming a Patreon or exclusive YouTube member if you want to support me further. I also have a Discord server where we chat about RPGs and games in general. All the links are in the description. I'll see ya in the next one.